geography is so much more than being able to identify countries on a blank map, learning states and capitals, and the mountain ranges of the world. And that's what I was determined to do and show my kids with geography in our homeschool. So today, let's chat about some of the resources we've used this year and loved for middle school. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Tricia, and I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids, and 2 of them, my boys, who this year are in 6th grade and 8th grade, did U.S. geography using Journey to the USA from a blog called Fearless Faithful Mom. I will leave the link to my video about the curriculum down there. I shared it back in the fall before we started. Her program was basically a literature-based geography. And going through it, I realized I needed to beef it up a bit for our family and came up with some really fantastic resources this year that made geography so much more fun and interesting than it ever was to me. Next year we're going to do world geography, and I'll have a video coming up soon showing that, so keep an eye out. Okay, first thing that we did was we added in was geography, or the geography was some cooking. Now we used a few different cookbooks, but 2 that we liked the most were this one. It's called Recipes Across America from Taste of Home. I'm a big Taste of Home person. I have been for more years than I want to admit, like 30. Yeah, probably close to 30 years. So I love their recipes. This one was a lot of fun. I let the boys choose the recipes, and then we would schedule them for it, so you can see some of the ones we've made are still marked in here. But this one is divided in the book down the corner. It showed the region it was from, and so we just did it by that because the curriculum was based on regions. Now, another one that we really enjoyed was the United States of Pizza. This was a lot of fun. We could not find necessarily pizza recipes from every region that we wanted to eat, because there are a lot that they looked fantastic, just not our flavor preferences. But this was a really fun addition, and I got both of these on Amazon used. I think they were both under $10 with shipping. Now, next thing that we used were the What Was, Where Is books from the Who Was series, and these were in the curriculum, and I was a little, because it's a middle school curriculum, but I don't consider those books middle school. And so I was a little not sure about them, but we tried them. I was afraid they would be too simple for my boys, but what I quickly realized was the fact that they were below their reading level, but still full of information, meant that my boys could read them quickly, which was a nice thing, and they absorbed a lot more because they didn't have to, they weren't, when kids are learning to read and they say to practice at all 3 levels, below, at, and above, so that below they practice the skills of absorbing the information well, and because your brain's not thinking about it. Anyway, that's what it was like for them. Like, they could just ciscally absorb it all, and it was a lot of fun. We did so many of these. We did what was the Wild West, what was the San Francisco earthquake, what is Broadway, White House, Area 51, Alcatraz. Lots of great things that, yes, are kind of somewhat history, somewhat geography. A lot of that is kind of a crossover. I mean, how do you separate history of America without talking about the geography, and vice versa? So that was a really good option. So even if you have a middle schooler and are looking for resource ideas, I wouldn't rule these out at all. Now, if your kids don't enjoy them, that's fine. It had been a few years since we had done them, so I wasn't sure what they would think, but they ended up being really good choices for a year. Now, the next thing that we did for geography was to create our own custom Google Maps, and I will leave a video down there that I found helpful so that you can go check it out. And this was really choice because we did a paper copy of it, or paper map. I also wanted them to build in those skills of the technological skills, using Google Maps, all of that also. So I think both kind of map skills are important. It was really fun to create our own Google Maps, and they each had their own. And one of the resources we used for finding places, that's what I should have said that, with the curriculum, we did it by region, and then they found places in each region that they planned a giant road trip to. One of the books we used for that was called Road Trip USA. This is by Moon, and it's cross-country adventures on America's 2-lane highways. So like the Pacific Coast Highway, one that follows the Appalachian Trail, Route 66, etc. This was really fun for finding smaller places, restaurants, etc. So, and there are a lot of different ones like this. This is just one of the ones that we had found. Again, I found this used, I think, on Amazon. Next up, I Googled for unique maps of the USA. And I found some fantastic sites that had all kinds of interesting maps explaining the US through maps of all types. And I won't list any specific site because there were just a bunch of them, but on Vox there was one that had 70 different. Board Panda had a few different conglomerations. If you just search for unique maps US, you're going to find a bunch. It was really interesting to compare things like economics, and when you start looking at the US through things like the history as told through different maps, you start understanding, a better understanding of how regions and such develop, and their history and why they are the way they are now. And we found all kinds of types about, comparing where the original colonies actually were, Civil War things, what regions have the most sports teams by the same name, like local, whatever. Just all kinds of things that are unique and interesting and tell the story of the U.S. in a way that I bet you never learned. I know I never learned geography in that way. And the last one are some fantastic shows over on PBS. You guys know how much I love PBS Passport for our homeschool. And some of the shows that we watched over there include Tacos of Texas. Absolutely fantastic and really interesting to see how different parts of Texas are, like tacos that are from that area are shaped by people who have lived there for hundreds, thousands, and thousands of years. Another one was 10 That Changed America, which is a whole series, like 10 streets that changed America, 10 monuments, etc. This one was a kind of a history geography crossover again, but it was really interesting to see the geography of areas of the U.S. through something, again, far more unique than what I learned growing up. Now, go click on the playlist over on your screen and go check out what else we've loved for geography. I'll see you there.